2018 for Toronto sports wasn't quite as successful as last year, but there are some exciting changes to a couple of our big teams making for an interesting sports year. So let's review exactly how 2018 looked for Toronto sports. So let's begin with the Raptors, improving our record year after year. This year we finished first in our conference for the first time ever, and setting a new franchise record with 59 wins. That success led to Coach Dwayne Casey winning the Coach of the Year award, but even though he was the best coach, he still got fired after the Raptors got swept by the Cleveland Cavaliers once again in the second round of the playoffs, and eliminated by LeBron James and his Cavs for a third straight time. So management decided it was time to move on from Coach Casey, even after all the success he brought in setting new team records. He led us to 5 straight playoff appearances, our first conference finals appearance, and put up a good fight. He became the Raps' most winningest coach and first to make the All-Star game. But not only did his farewell shock fans, but we are moving on from our star player DeMar DeRozan as well. After 9 seasons here, the 4-time All-Star also setting new franchise records, like when he broke Vince Carter and Terrence Ross's record scoring 52 points. He became the Raptors franchise leader in wins, games played, minutes, field goals, and free throws. So of course it's extremely tough to see the Raptors' best coach ever, and the most loyal Raptor ever to go out at the same time. So massive thanks to both of them for everything they did for our franchise. So many great years and bringing us to new heights. Good luck to Dwayne Casey with the Detroit Pistons, and a good luck to DeMar DeRozan with the San Antonio Spurs. So for this season, we promoted assistant coach Nick Nurse to head coach. I personally wanted Jerry Stackhouse to take the job, but I guess the choice of Nurse made sense because he's been with the team for a while. He did have a front row seat for a few years now, so to have him as a new voice in charge, he should know what changes are needed to be made to try and take us the next step further. And the new star of the team, Kawhi Leonard, who we got for DeMar, as we know, is the finals or bust for us this season, because it seems to be a one and done for him in Toronto, unless we can find success and show him that we can be a title contender. But so far the Kawhi experiment has been going pretty well, I would say. We are off to a very hot start in the beginning. It's been tougher as of late with guys going in and out of the lineup with injuries, but we showed the sort of potential we got at full strength. And if we can get that, it seems we can put together a good run. It's been pretty fun so far, but I can't wait for next year, when DeMar visits Toronto, and our chances in the playoffs, especially with LeBron in the West now. And the Raptors 905 had another big season this year following our championship in 2017. We reached the G League Finals once again for a chance to defend our title, unfortunately defeated by the Austin Spurs, who are the best team in the West and tied for the best team in the league. But what a job by Coach Jerry Stackhouse leading us to back-to-back finals. That's why I thought that was going to earn him promotion to the Raptors head coaching job. But they chose Nick Nurse and Stackhouse went to the Memphis Grizzlies. Lorenzo Brown won the G League MVP, and that earned himself a full contract with the Raptors. This season for the 905, new head coach Jama Malalela, who came down from Raptors assistant coach. They have picked it up as of late after a slow start to the season. Like the parent club, they are battling for the top spot in the conference. And Chris Boucher is the league's best player right now, currently leading the league in scoring and blocks. He's on his way to a potential G League MVP title. Moving on to hockey, the Maple Leafs set a new franchise record in wins with 49, and made the playoffs for a second consecutive season. But this year it was against familiar foes Boston Bruins. As everyone remembers the epic collapse in 2013 in Game 7 where we were so close to advancing. Well, again we battled to a Game 7, but just couldn't slay the Giant. So still we are working towards a playoff series win. And that actually ended GM Lou Lamoriello's time in Toronto, as he decided not to re-sign and is now with the New York Islanders. And of course it was Lou who turned the Leafs around through the rebuild process. So a big thanks to him for making us a winning team and a playoff team again. So it was time for young Kyle Dubas to take the role, after a few years as assistant GM and general manager for the Marlies where he found success with. And then the unbelievable news that made it the best candidate ever for every Leafs fan, the announcement that John Tavares is a Leaf. And with the addition of Tavares, so much anticipation ahead of this season. And we raced out right out of the gates to start the season, looking pretty unbeatable with Tavares on our team, but it's slowed down now and looking more realistic. And at least we got the delayed William Nylander deal done even though at the last second. He's still finding his game but will be pretty dangerous when he does. So with everyone back and going and with a new star on board, playoffs next year, we got a belief now. And then for the Calder Cup champions Marlies, going the distance 7 games against the Texas Stars, but finally we won the championship. Been the elite team in the AHL year after year, first in the league in the 2 of the past 3 seasons, and making the playoffs for 7 straight. And now we have the championship title to show for it. With that, it led to general manager Kyle Dubas' promotion to the GM of the Leafs, as I mentioned, and Garrett Sparks showing that he's a goalie of the future. He became the Marlies franchise most winningest goalie, while setting records with the most single-season wins and shutouts, as well as the best save percentage and goals against average. So that earned him the backup job behind Frederik Andersen for the Leafs, and is currently doing quite well with the big club. The Marlies this season off to a slow start. There's a bit of a spell going around the CNE grounds. The Argos and TFC failing miserably after winning championships the year before. Hopefully the Marlies can break that spell and actually put up a title defense. Now for my favorite team, the Blue Jays. Of course, it was the season without Jose Batista after 10 years. Believe it or not, they were actually a good team, but only in the early season. We even led the division for a bit. Unfortunately, it was short-lived, and it all went downhill from there. And we had no choice but to start the rebuild mid-season. So we had to ship key guys out like Jay Happ, Roberto Osuna, Josh Donaldson, and we also saw the last of Marco Estrada, and Troy Tulowitzki has been released now. Manager John Gibbons as well stepping away. I guess thank you John Gibbons for the fun years, bringing postseason baseball back to Toronto, and a couple good runs in it too. But you know what? The rebuilding meant we got to check out our young prospects, like Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Ryan Baraki, Danny Jansen, Rowdy Tellez, Billy McKinney, etc. And they look quite bright up in the big leagues making highlights. And don't forget the guys who have yet to come up too. Vladdy Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, Kevin Biggio. Remember how good they looked in spring training? Actually, my favorite 2018 Blue Jays moment was when Vladdy hit the walk-off home run in Montreal at Olympic Stadium, the city his dad played and where he was born and raised. So the future is looking good for the Jays, and I'm interested in seeing what new manager Charlie Montoya has to offer. Next, let's talk about soccer. TFC had a struggling season after winning the championship, but our Champions League run was an unforgettable one, taking down Mexican giants one after another, first MLS club to do so in the tournament. And you guys can remember how Jonathan Osorio was on fire and wins the Golden Boot. Sebastian Javinko with highlight goals was sensational against Mexican opposition and wins the Golden Ball. So it was such a successful run for TFC, we even had the MLS cheering us on, and only falling short by the shootout, but proving to everyone that MLS clubs can indeed compete with the Liga MX clubs. So putting all of our focus in the Champions League gave us a slow start to the regular season. Not only that, we came out of the tournament really short-handed. We still had time to recover, but having guys in and out of the lineup was a problem. We just couldn't find consistency that way, so that didn't allow us to compete. So it was the championship curse at the CNE grounds, and we put up one of the worst title defenses. So of course there was a lot of noise about Vanny out. Here's how I feel about Greg Vanny and the coaching situation. You don't sack the coach who got you a championship right away because of one bad season. Doing that would just be premature. Plus we have the Champions League coming up to start again. Vanny knows exactly how to prepare for it and find success in it as we've seen. So let him take another crack at the tournament again. And then no matter if we do well in it or not, the recovery from it will be his real test to prove himself. He should have learned this season how to come back after going all out in the tournament. And if he can keep everything together this time, then he's good. And if you see the same thing happening again, then it's not too late in the early to mid-season for a change. So we just brought in a couple veteran guys, Nick De Leon and Laurent Simon to work with, so we'll see how he manages this time around. Over to our farm club TFC2. So the USL has decided to rebrand into the USL Championship, while creating a Tier 3 league called USL League 1. And after struggling year after year, and just playing our worst season of all, the team has decided to join the inaugural USL League 1, technically relegating down. So it's actually a really good decision, with the USL Championship continuing to grow, becoming more competitive. It's perfect that we can actually move into a league that we can fit in and win games. So it's actually not a step back, but a step forward for TFC2. And sticking to soccer, Canada's own top-tier soccer league is finally ready to get underway in April of 2019. The league is called the Canadian Premier League, and Toronto's team is called York 9 FC to represent the 9 municipalities of York Region. We will kick off at York University's York Lions Stadium, as well as their alumni field for the first few seasons, as we plan our own stadium projected within the next 3 years. So our coach is Jim Brennan, a local who played for TFC and also worked in their system afterwards. This league's main purpose is to discover and develop Canadians and local talent. So they put together a youth sports draft to give an opportunity to players to play professionally out of our own universities. So we picked Daniel Gogardi, a defender from right here out of York University in the first round. Then midfielder Emmanuel Zambazes out of York University as well in the second round. And defender Daniel Pritchard out of Cape Breton University in the third. Our first ever signing was midfielder Kyle Porter, a Mississauga native. Forward Simon Ajay was our first international signing, but he played locally in League 1 Ontario in the past. And Richmond Hill native forward Austin Ritchie, and Barrie native defender Stephen Furlano as well. So everything's coming together nicely for the launch of the CPL in 2019. I can't wait for the derbies against Hamilton, and as the Canadian Championship expanding, the potential of playing TFC in our own version of El Tráfico or El whatever you want to call it. From one kind of football to another, the Argos too experienced the championship curse on CNE grounds, putting up the worst season after winning a title across any major sport. Our quarterback Ricky Ray hoped to come back to defend our title, but went down after the first couple games. So we had to platoon our backups James Franklin and McLeod Bethel Thompson. The defense was completely opposite of what it was in the Grey Cup year, and most of our guys just weren't the same. So unfortunately that led to the firing of coach Mark Trestman. I really like Trestman, can't thank him enough for bringing us the Grey Cup again. But our new coach Corey Chamberlain knows how to win a championship as well. Former CFL Coach of the Year in 2013 and won a Grey Cup then. He was with us as assistant coach when we won in 2017 too, so he's familiar with our guys. I do believe he can guide our team back in the right direction. And let's go to lacrosse with The Rock. We fell short of the playoffs this year, and that led to the departure of our captain Brody Merrill. I guess his brother Patrick Merrill, a former Rock as well, becoming the coach of expansion team San Diego Seals, influenced his decision to go join him. But alternate captain Sandy Chapman retired in the offseason. Then we lost one of our key guys, Brett Hickey, to the expansion draft. So our big piece is all going, and we are left with a very different team this year. But so far they've been looking pretty good in the first 2 games, beating rival Buffalo on the road, then just losing a close one in the home opener. So good luck to the Rock this year. Hope they can keep it up the rest of the season and get back to the playoffs. And finally we have rugby. The Wolfpack were the best in Toronto sports this summer, basically repeating what we did in League 1 the year before, and just almost reaching the Super League in the least amount of time needed. Just winning the championship wasn't enough for promotion, because this time we actually had to play in the playoffs. And we played really well in it too. Even beat the Witness Vikings to get them relegated in our own hands. But then there was that £1 million game. We were playing here at home in front of our own crowd but just couldn't get anything going. We lost 4-2 to the London Broncos and fell just shy of the Super League promotion. And that failure led to more disappointment. The departure of our coach Paul Rowley, the retirement of Corey Patterson and Rich Whiting, already a big blow to our team and now losing the coach who started it all, and a couple main pieces to our success. But just gotta keep our heads up, and believe in new coach Brian McDermott can deliver us to the promised land. The Arrows are set to play in Major League Rugby in 2019 as early as January, and we'll be playing our home games at York Lions Stadium. So far the Arrows have broadcasted their games on their Facebook and YouTube, while the MLR YouTube channel uploads all the full matches each week. So do tune in and support our Major League Rugby team as well. So a decent sports year overall for our teams in Toronto, and of course some significant changes in line for success next year. Also with a couple new teams to support, we have one heck of a sports year in 2019 ahead of us for sure. So Happy New Year to all of you Toronto sports fans, and I'll see you guys next year. And thanks so much for watching, please like and subscribe, and I hope you'll tune in to the next episode.